You are listening to the Sports and Sorts podcast. You are listening to Sports and Sorts with Shane and the Bri Man.
Oh yeah, NFC. We got the division picks here. We're going to start off in the NFC South. Yeah, we'll start off in the NFC South.
I would like to start, if you don't mind.
Oh, really?
May I? Yes.
Yeah, you can absolutely start. Go ahead. I like your
enthusiasm.
Yes, yeah, you're ready.
Hey, it's a good Monday morning. I'm on vacation this week, you know.
Yep.
I'm feeling I got a little energy.
Your 5-minute timer's on. Go.
NFC South. All right, here we go. This is really, honestly, this division, I don't know how you have it playing out, but it's, to me, really one of the best divisions in football. Maybe with the exception of the team that I'm going to have in last place, because I think that's a team that could potentially be fighting for a top 3 pick in the NFL draft. But the other 3 teams, all to me are very close to one of them. 2 of them are definitely playoff bound, and the other one would be on the fringe. But at the top, I have the New Orleans Saints at 12-4. To me, this team, that team last year was just one relatively easy defensive play away from being in the NFC Championship game and going to Philadelphia. It's a miracle that they were not in it. You know what? I don't know that they would have beaten Philly, because I think Philly, you know, was a team of destiny last year and all that stuff. But I think they would have given Philly a tough run, because their offense, this offense with Breeze and Kamara, and eventually when he comes back, Ingram, Michael Thomas, they are a force to be reckoned with. I mean, you know, and Breeze continues to defy age. He just looks like the same guy every year. And here's the other thing: their defense got better. They've got Cam Jordan and Marcus Davenport rushing the passer. You still have Lattimore. To me, the defense got better. You still have Sean Payton. As good as I think some of the other teams in this division are, to me, this is all about the Saints. They're going to go 12-4. They're going to win this division. Not easily. It's going to be close, but they're going to win. Second place team, with only one game behind them, is the Atlanta Falcons. You know, look, the one thing with the Falcons is I've never really been sold on their defense, and they didn't do a lot this offseason to really kind of make me feel like that was a major area of improvement. But at the end of the day, you still got Matty Ice, you still got Devontae Freeman, you still got Julio Jones, Austin Hooper, Calvin Ridley, Mohamed Sanu. A lot of weapons. They're going to score points. It's going to be hard to beat them. There's just so many options and so many different ways they can hurt you on offense that I just, you know, and the bottom line for the Falcons, they'll eat up the rest of their schedule. They just got to make sure. I mean, they should probably win 2 against the Bucs. And you got to look, if you're them, you got to split with the Saints and you got to split with the Panthers. Bottom line, you have to split with those teams. And then they'll take care of the rest of the schedule. I've got them going 11-5. Panthers, look, the Panthers are going to be good again. They're going to be 10-6. The way I have this all playing out, they actually would not be a playoff team for me, but they're 100% going to be in the conversation. They still have a top 5 defense, which is, again, why I think – and look, that's why they were good last year. That's what kept them – I mean, Cam Newton was all over the place last year, as I'm sure you're going to point out in your segment. and I'm sure you're not confident in him this year. And actually, I would be a little less confident in him this year too, because his offensive line scares me. I think that could be an issue for this team big time. They've got some issues there. But they are still a top 5 defense. I think they've got enough weapons on offense. Christian McCaffrey is exactly what the doctor ordered in terms of Cam Newton needing a safety valve. But the other guy who has to step up this year in the offense for Carolina is Greg Olsen. He's got to get back to being Greg Olsen, because he didn't do much last year. And then listen, in the basement here, cellar dwelling in the NFC South is the Bucs. I've got them at 4-12. I've got them vying for a top 3 to 5 pick. They got a little bit better on defense. They picked up Vita Vea in the draft. They signed Jason Pierre-Paul, but the division is just brutal. It's a brutal division. Look, I could see them losing every one of those games within the division. Yeah. It's just going to be – they took a step backwards last year, and I think they're going to take a step backwards this year.
All right.
That's where I'm at.
Great. All right, so we're a little different here, just a little different. And I know that I harp on Matt Ryan a lot. By saying that he is just a little bit better version of Andy Dalton, which I still think is true. I think it's a slap in the face to Matt Ryan fans, but I think it's true. With that being said, I do think that this team is going to have a very good year. They start off the season with a ton of home games, which, is always good. Sleeping in your own bed is always it's a huge deal. Now, Matt Dalton has a very good offensive line, so he's going to have time to throw, which he needs. And, Andy Ryan has had Steve Sarkisian for a full season, so they should be completely on the same page now. And of course, if you have Julio Jones, who is going to be on a mission this year, he's going to tear up the league again, and then you have the complementary with the Sanu, obviously, and then Austin Hooper, very legit tight end. That is going to be they are going to have a very good offensive team. And then you couple that with the duo running backs from hell, Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman, who can both catch like wide receivers. And Tevin Coleman actually might have the best hands on the team. And don't kill me for saying that, but he's that good, and it could be true. So they have all that, and I think that their defense is a little bit underrated. I think that, they finished in the top third in defense last year, and I expect them to take another leap forward. And I think they're going to probably not only be a top 10 team, I think they might be a top 7 team in defense this coming year. I think
if they're a top 7 team in defense, they could win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think they were 9 last year. So I really think that they are close, and I think that their record could be even better than this, but I have them at 11-5. And then I'm going to move on to the.
So we haven't had the same record, just different spots. Okay.
And I have the New Orleans Saints. They had a really good year last year. I think that they take a small step back. I love Drew Brees, but he's not the main option there anymore, which is good at the same time as it is kind of bad. But, now that they have Alvin Kamara and they have Mark Ingram, as soon as he's back from suspension, depending on what kind of suspension he has, I know he's trying to fight it and everything. But
I think it's 4 games.
He's trying to fight it. He said that whatever he did wasn't wrong.
It's going to get upheld.
But it doesn't matter because they signed Shane Vereen, who I think is a very good secondary option right now to an Alvin Kamara. He's kind of like a poor man's Alvin Kamara anyway, so I think that that's going to be a good big help for them. They have a good coach, an all-time quarterback, running back galore. They're so much talented everywhere. Young, talented defense. I have them going 10-6. Carolina Panthers, everybody knows that I don't like Cam Newton. He's cocky. He's got all the talent in the world, but he's inconsistent. Now he's got Norv Turner to help him out, but I think that these two guys are going to fit together like oil and water. If it wasn't for his incredible defense, I would have them at a losing. I would have them at a losing. I'm going to actually put them. I had them at 8-8.
Okay.
But I'm going to have them at a losing season, mainly because Luke Kuechly can never stay healthy. So I am going to give them a losing record at 7-9.
Okay.
And then I'm going to the Tampa Bay Bucks. The Bucks are terrible. Jameis Winston is a lunatic. He's going to be suspended for part of the year. They have a terrible start to the season. O-line is meh. If the team wins 5 games this year, I will be shocked. They are just a mess, and I don't want to spend any more time talking about this garbage team. So the Bucks are going to go 4-12.
Oh, all right, we got the same record there.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it for that. Now I think we'll head on over to the NFC West. I'll start off with this. I'm gonna put a little NFL music in the background. This is getting a little bland.
Sure.
Sure. Go ahead, Shane. NFL. Let's see what we got here. I like that. Run to the playoffs. I like it. Whoa. Wow. I don't know what that is, but it sounds delicious. All right, we got our music. All right, here we go. Got my 5-minute timer up and running. LA Rams, NFC West. I was in love with this team last year. I had them going 8-8 last year. I thought that they were on a path for greatness, but that wasn't going to happen last year. It was going to happen this year. And I think that they really beat me to it last year, kinda, because this is going to be a huge year for them. The genius Sean McVay just added Brandon Cooks to his already very good receiving core. He has the best overall back in the game, in my opinion, in Todd Gurley. And Jared Goff proved last year that he is the real deal. And then you go 1 week, their 1 week link in their armor last year was their defense. And you could put numbers
Not
up on
anymore.
it. Yes, not anymore. Now that they have added Brian's boy and Ndamukong Suh, they added some serious talent in the secondary. Be prepared, NFL fans, to call Sean McVay a genius for a very long time. This team is going to run through the league, and I don't think there is a better team on paper right now than these LA Rams. The greatest show on turf is no longer, because this team is just pure great. They are the greatest show now. They have all the talent and quite possibly the weakest division, I feel, of the year. And I have the Rams going 13-3 this year. They are going to be an extremely fun team to watch. The Rams and the 49ers going head-to-head over the next several years is going to be a lot of fun. So I'm really looking forward to that. 13-3. I have as finishing second in this division, the San Francisco 49ers. I like this team. I like Jimmy G. Not particularly fond of his choice of late-night companions, but I do like him at quarterback. And he proved last year that he's got the goods. The team still has some weak links, which I am sure they will shore up over the next couple years. But they have their leaders in place, Jimmy G and Kyle Shanahan. I say this team goes 9-7, possibly makes the playoffs. Arizona Cardinals I have finishing in third place. The team isn't going to be great. They aren't going to be a pushover either, though. They got their stud back, David Johnson. He's going to help a ton. Unfortunately, they have a bad offensive line, which isn't going to help Josh Rosen or Sam Bradford. Those are two guys that are just I don't know how durable they're going to be. Sam Bradford is like my favorite player on the Yankees. Greg Bird. He is the NFL's version of Mr. Glass. And I feel bad for, Larry Fitzgerald, but he's going to have to wait another year in order to try and make the playoffs. I just don't think it's going to happen this year. And even if he does it next year, it's going to be doing it with like a 9-17, because the division that he's going to be going into next year is going to be an extremely tough division. And then last place, I had this team finishing in first last year. I was a little bit wrong. They finished in second. But the Seattle Seahawks, I am completely out on this team. I love Russell Wilson, he just can't do it on his own anymore. They have lost players, on defense. Pete Carroll has pretty much completely lost the locker room, and there is just not much to like about this team, which stinks because Russ deserves better. And I have the Seahawks going to a really bad record of 6-10.
Okay, we're close.
Close. Really? All right.
Yeah.
I like it.
Our top two teams are the same and identical records. So
great.
I've got the Rams at 13-3. The Rams are an absolute offensive juggernaut. I mean, they should be able to score at will. And this is the year. You already saw what Jared Goff could do last year. This is year 3 for him. This is going to be his name, I believe, will be in the MVP conversation this year. I really do. Yeah. I really think he's going to be that up there. Especially when you have a team that's 13-3. But let's be honest. The biggest holes on this team were on defense. What did they do? They went out and they signed Ndamukong Suh. They picked up Aqib Talib, and they picked up Marcus Peters. I mean, what more? If you're a Rams fan, what more could you possibly ask for? Where are the significant holes on this team? Even their kicker is great.
No, their punter and kicker is great.
I mean, what are the significant holes on this team? I don't know. I really don't. I mean, they were good, and they were good defensively last year. They weren't great defensively last year, but they were good defensively last year. You
could they had a lot of games where it was like 38-35. So you could put points on it, but that's changing this year.
That's going to change. Here's the thing. The one thing I can tell you about Ndamukong Suh, even though if you looked at it from a Dolphins fan perspective, you'll get a very bitter outlook on his tenure there. But the truth is he actually played very well there. Here's the one thing I know about Ndamukong Suh, no matter what. It takes 2 bodies to occupy him. So, if you're playing against the Rams, you have to account 2 guys on your offensive line for him. You have to. If you don't, it's going to be a jailbreak. Mm-hmm. It's going to be an absolute jailbreak, and he's going to maul the quarterback, and then he's going to stomp on him. So you better put literally. 2 guys. Literally, you better put 2 guys on him. And that's going to – and if he's able to get pressure up the middle of that line, that's going to make guys like Talib and Marcus Peters in that secondary even more dangerous. Mm-hmm. So I expect some turnovers from this Rams team too. They are going to be really good. They're just going to be a really good team.
Scary.
Goff and Gurley and Cooks and on and on and on it goes. It's just going to be scary.
I can't wait to watch them.
I'm with you on the Niners, though. 49ers, 9-7. I like some of their pickups this year. I really actually like the Jerick McKinnon pickup. I think that's a good move. I think he's going to actually be a fantasy stud, too. And look, Jimmy Garoppolo, we're all excited about him. Better life choices, of course, certainly should happen. But as a player, as a football player on the field, I think we're all excited about him. I think you can kind of tell that he's the goods. And look, I even like the Richard Sherman pickup. I really do. I think one man's trash is another man's treasure.
He's a leader.
He is. I mean, and whether you like him or not, I've never been his biggest fan, but whether you like him or not, the guy's a player. He's a Hall of Famer. He's an all-timer, and he gets results. So I have the Niners going 9-7 too. But I mean, they're 4 games back. This isn't even going to be a divisional race. This is one of the worst divisions in football. I actually have the Seahawks and Cardinals switched. So I have the Seahawks 3rd, 6-10. Very uninspired team. I think the only reason they even get to 6 wins is just because you're playing 8 games in Seattle, and the 12th man will help you get you a few. Sure. But the Legion of Boom is no more. It's gone. That does not exist anymore. That phrase is completely irrelevant in football now. It means nothing. There is no Legion of Boom. And I'm with you on Pete Carroll. I don't know that he's lost the locker room, but I have no confidence in him. And I think, look, Pete Carroll had a window. He somewhat took advantage of it. He got 1 Super Bowl. He should have gotten 2. We all know that.
Yep.
But he got 1. The window was closed. I kind of feel bad for Russell Wilson because Russell Wilson is still very much in his prime, but I think it's going to be a few years before that team could be relevant again. And then I've got the Cardinals basically just being woeful. I think they're in that conversation for the number 1 pick too. I've got them going 4-12. Look, Sam Bradford's your starting quarterback. He's an injury waiting to happen. If he goes down, I mean, David Johnson is going to get killed in that backfield. And he's coming off a significant injury. So, I don't know. To me, there's just not a lot to like there. I don't see the Cardinals making any noise at all in this division. And like I said, overall, it's a weak division. So I got Rams, Niners, Seahawks, Cardinals.
All right. Well, why don't you keep on talking, buddy? Why don't you go right into the NFC North? We'll kind of snake it back.
NFC North. Speaking of teams that are 13-3, here comes another one.
Whoa!
The first place Minnesota Vikings.
Whoa!
Who already boasted the best defense in football. Mm-hmm. They were the top-ranked defense last year. That's not changing. They are still right up there. They are still a top-ranked defense. And now they actually have a quarterback, a really, really good quarterback, with an offense that is tailor-made to him, that is perfectly tailored to his skill set. You have a returning Dalvin Cook, which I think is going to be great for him because Dalvin Cook is another one of those classic dual-threat running backs. Mm-hmm. He should be a nice safety valve. Not that Kirk Cousins is going to need any kind of safety valves. But look, they've got a nice two-headed monster there at running back between Cook and Murray. Murray will be able to spell him, and it's not going to be a significant drop-off in terms of talent and skill set. They both have similar skill sets, different builds, but similar skill sets. And look, I mean, what's not to like about this team? They should have been. I mean, they were in the NFC Championship game last year. Yes, it took a miracle, but they got there. Mm-hmm. They're well coached. They got better at the most important position in all of sports, and they were decent at that position last year. They had a game manager to slightly above average quarterback at that position last year. Now you have what is, in my opinion, a top 10 quarterback, probably closer to the 10 range, but a top 10, if you want to call him a top 10 to top 12 quarterback. Case Keenum was not in that conversation. Kirk Cousins was on a bad team last year, a really bad team last year, and he to me, was in that top 12 discussion for quarterbacks. But when you put him on a roster like this, they can only get better. I've got them at 13-3. I've got the Packers at 11-5. And to answer, there was I believe we had a Facebook. Could you read to me the Facebook question that we had about the Packers? Because I would kind of like to address it.
Yeah, so we had Ronnie Piro. He is a question for the show. The Vikings are pretty easily the NFC North favorites and will make the playoffs. Are the Lions now the second team to beat in the North, or is Aaron Rodgers still good enough to muscle a pretty sad-looking Packers roster to second place? Will either of them make the playoffs, and the Bears will suck again?
So the reason I wanted you to read that is because I love the way he worded that. Will Aaron Rodgers muscle the Packers? Yeah, the answer is yes. He will. He will, because he's that good. I mean, you saw last year with him out, and then even when he came back, they didn't have enough. But when he is playing, that team, this is why Aaron Rodgers to me is the best quarterback in football, because when he's on that team, when he is playing, it almost doesn't even matter who his weapons are. He's just that great. He's like Brady. He makes average guys good, and he makes good guys great, and he makes great guys Hall of Famers. I mean, that's who Aaron Rodgers is. He's the best quarterback in football, which means he's arguably the best player in football. Of course, if you lose a guy like that, you're not going to be the same. Having him back, having him healthy, slinging the ball, that's an 11-5 team. Now, to me, it is still the biggest head scratcher of the season that Jordy Nelson was that he was allowed to walk. I still don't get it. I still haven't figured that one out. I don't know how McCarthy allowed that to happen. I don't know. I just don't understand that move at all. And Aaron Rodgers didn't understand it either, and he was pretty vocal about it.
Yeah, still is.
But look, they didn't replace him, but they did. They do have, to me, one of the better tight end situations in all of football, though, because they got Jimmy Graham, and they picked up Mercedes Lewis, which I think is also a really important pickup for them because he's a really good blocking back, and I like the tandem that they have there, and I like the threat that he'll have over the middle. I mean, look, losing Jordy Nelson I think it hurts, but I don't think it hurts them to the point that they're not a playoff team, and I've got them at 11-5. And then, pulling in the rear here, I've got the Lions at 8-8. Look, it's the beginning of the Matt Patricia era. I think it's going to take – look, you have a new coach, a new regime. There's an adjustment that has to be made. I just don't see – and the Lions, as talented as they are, it's a top-heavy division. I can't see that. And I can even see the Lions losing one to the Bears, maybe even losing two to the Vikings and the Packers. But the Lions will pick up wins elsewhere, but to me they're a 500 team. And then speaking of the Bears, I like the direction the Bears are headed, but it's just not there. We're not there yet. They're a 6-10 team. I do actually like the pickups of Allen Robinson and Trey Burton, especially Trey Burton. That's a guy I really wanted the Dolphins to get, but and they're getting close. Mitch Trubisky is going to need another couple of years of seasoning, but I like where they're trending. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Great. All right. Well, I have some friends that I think I'm going to be hurting a little bit here.
Oh, hurt friends.
I think some friends aren't going to be very happy with my picks. But, I got to do me, right? So yes. What we're going to do here is I have, in a response to Ronnie's question, Zach Harvey writes, the Packers will easily win that division with a healthy Rodgers. He was the MVP of the league until he got hurt last year.
I don't know how you could say easily. I don't know how you could do that.
So, for me...
If you want to make the argument, fine, but easily?
I am completely with Zach here. I really like the Packers' schedule. I have the Packers. I have the Packers winning this division. I love their schedule. I love their quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is the best damn quarterback on the planet globe, as you like to say. Plus, they have upgraded on defense in their secondary and their D-line. You can't tell me that Jimmy Graham isn't going to have the greatest season he has ever had.
No, he should.
With Aaron Rodgers throwing to him. He might catch 20 touchdowns this year. They have a very nice receiving core with a so-so running back situation, but you have to be honest here. There are two teams in the NFL that don't need a legit running back, and one is the Patriots and the other is the Packers, and that's because they have the two best quarterbacks in the league. So I'm not that worried about the Packers running back situation. It just means that Devontae Adams is going to have a hell of a season. And Randall Cobb is also going to put up solid numbers as he usually does. This year, with their schedule, the upgraded defense, and the more balanced offense, the Pack are going to go 12-4, and Aaron Rodgers will have one of the greatest seasons ever. I really wanted to say 11-5, but I love Rodgers so much that I will give them an extra win just for my love for him.
No, I've got them at 11-5, so I mean we're
close. Yes, we're very
close.
So now I go on to the Vikings. The Vikings I have in second place. And I think you're going to be a little shocked about where I have them in second place. You know, I said I like the Packers' schedule. Well, I really dislike the Vikings' schedule. They could literally start the season 1-4. They're versus the 49ers, at the Packers, versus Buffalo. That's a guaranteed win right there. And then at the Rams, and then at Philly. That's their first 5 games of the season. They could literally start the season at 1-4 and still be a very good team. They just have a very difficult start to the season. They have a new offensive coordinator and a new quarterback, Dalvin Cook, who's coming off an ACL, and on top of all that, they get to run through that gauntlet of the first 5 games of the season. I don't like that. I still think that they have a pretty good year. I think they're going to make the playoffs. They definitely take a step back from last year. I think they're going to go 9-7.
Wow.
Yes.
Holy cow.
Now, this is where things might get a little difficult. Like my father, one of my dads, is a Vikings fan, so I just probably hurt his feelings a little bit. Now we're moving on to the Lions, which I have 2 friends, Ronnie and Chad. Both are Lions fans. The Lions are a 50-50 team. Look, Matt Stafford is a good quarterback, but he went 9-7 last year, and his career, he's 60-65. They have lame duck owners. Some people will be like, oh, but they got me Matt Patricia. Are you going to tell me that Matt Patricia will be your savior? How many Belichick assistants have actually succeeded? It's more like he'll actually be meh Patricia. That's what he's actually going to be. The Lions have always let Stafford get beat up to a pulp because they can't run the ball. His receivers rarely play up to their abilities, and his O-line is in the bottom third of the league. Maybe the Lions eke out an extra win somewhere, but I think I have them at 7-9. And the Bears are, I'm kind of a fan of Mitch Trubisky. He seems to have that like moxie that you want. But that's all I've seen from him so far. So I'm a little nervous, and I think he's going to end up being more like Tim Tebow than like Matt Stafford. So I hope he shows me something this year because I want him to succeed. But as of right now, they have a decent schedule to start the year where Trubisky could legit be, if he's a legit quarterback, he could actually go 4-3. If not, they could go 1-6. So if he plays to that Tebow level where he's completing 50% of his passes and his quarterback rating is where it was last year, they could literally start the season 1-6 or 2-5. And if that's the case, they're going to be worse than I have them. I have them at 4-12. So that's it for that. We have a bunch of people here. Keith Sherry wrote #meh Patricia. I'll even put that on there because I like that he quoted me. And then Ronnie Pirro puts out there, he's the Lions fan. They had lame duck owners. Martha Firestone Ford is a boss since she took over. Well, I haven't seen anything since. I mean, the only addition really to me is meh Patricia. But we'll have to see. I hope you're right for your sake. Although what I've seen, I don't like it. Now let's move on to the most difficult division, the most tough division in all of football, the NFC East.
Difficult in what way?
I think it's going to be a powerhouse.
Wow, we are way off on that.
A powerhouse.
I think it's...
So we got right here.
All right, this would be fun.
Starting off, I have Philadelphia, once again, winning the division. The Super Bowl champs will be the team to take down in the NFC East once again, with my boy Carson Wentz back. Yes, the man who threw a touchdown on one leg and then walked off the field under his own power. Carson Wentz is so tough, he uses pepper spray to spice up his steaks. That's right, I'm bringing it back.
Oh my God.
This team is stacked on both sides of the ball. And because the NFC East is just such a tough division, I have them being a little worse than they were last year. They have a great offensive line, Alshon Jeffrey, Algalar. Now they have Mike Wallace to throw into the outside. Zach Ertz is a ridiculous tight end. Then they have Jay Ajayi as your main back, with Darren Sproles to sprinkle in as your third down back, and also doing good on special teams. They are just stacked. They lost the comeback king, Frank Reich, as their offensive coordinator, which is going to hurt a smidge. I think that's going to hurt a little bit. Luckily for them, they're almost equally stacked on the defensive side of the ball, so it won't hurt that much. And after this team gets a new offensive coordinator, and they get their sea legs underneath them, I think that they are going to be the favorites to go all the way. I have the Eagles only going 11-5 this year, and that's basically because of the division that they're in and the promotion and slight learning curve of Mike Groh and his system as an offensive coordinator. He's been in the system as a wide receiver coach. He was a quarterback in college. I expect him to be good, but there's always some growing pains with a new system. And now that takes me to my biggest. This is just. I think people are just going to laugh at me here. I have the Giants finishing second in this division at 10-6. This takes me to the most improved team in football this year, the New York Football Giants. They had every one of their wide receivers go down last year. It was the most unlucky season for an offense, but they got rid of about 300 pounds of Ben McAdoo, and that is a huge upgrade right there. This team is studly. They have studs at almost every position. And I have little doubt in Pat Shurmur. OBJ, Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Stewart as the backup running back. Sterling Shepard is a solid wide receiver. He's going to take strides to even go better. I have this special tight end, Evan Engram, is going to be extremely fun to watch. And plus, they upgraded at left tackle with Nate Solder. That is a huge addition. Big year for the G-Men. They are playoff bound. And then I have the Cowboys going 8-8. This is where I'm going to hurt my buddies Keith Cherry and Mark Lubchansky. I'm going to hurt them a little bit here. Cowboys at 8-8. I know the Cowboy fans are not going to like this, but I have them finishing third in this tough division. I don't like their secondary, which means they will get points put up on them. And when they go against the Giants and the Eagles, and on top of that, I hate the Cowboys wide receiving core. So when they're going against the Giants and the Eagles, who are going to put up some serious numbers against them, I have a feeling they're going to have a hard time scoring. The teams will be able to stuff the box and limit Ezekiel Elliott a little. I'm not going to say he's going to have a terrible year. I think they're going to limit him a little. And Dak is going to have to prove he is an elite quarterback this year, and I don't think he is. So I have the Cowboys going 8-8. I've always said that. I think he's just a little above average quarterback, and you're going to really see how good he is this year. I have Redskins finishing at the bottom of this heap, and that is finishing at 5-11. This team, led by Jay Gruden, is in a rough division with no real upside, especially at head coach. Josh Norman is another year older, probably a little slower. The quarterback situation went from gunslinger to playing it safe, which should take an okay offense to an average offense. So it's basically the same thing, and this team had no real improvements and will get beat up by their division. I have the Skins going 5-11. It might be just sour grapes from Super Bowl 26, but I just don't like this team at all. Go ahead.
Well, actually, so ironically, I thought this was going to be way off, and yet our four teams are exactly the same.
Whoa!
So we're not really off. We're just off in terms of records, but we're not off. Although you have the Giants as a playoff team, and I do not, because I just think there's too many other 11-5 teams roaming around that.
So Keith Cherry posts. He's a diehard Cowboys fan. He writes, "My God!" And he said, "Bri Man, be the saver."
I can't. I'm sorry. I can't. Actually, we have the Cowboys at the same record. So, look, as I was going through this, and I literally have this written down on my notepad here next to the Eagles, who I have 12-4. Here's what I have written down. Wentz, Foles, and no holes. There are no holes on this team.
It's a very good team.
They're good everywhere. And they have the best quarterback situation I've ever seen, ever, with the exception of Montana and Steve Young. It's the best quarterback situation ever. Except the difference between this...
Montana and Young is slightly better.
No, but the difference between this and Montana and Young, though, is that there still isn't even a controversy here And yet the backup is the guy who won the Super Bowl last year.
Mm-hmm.
So you have, as your quarterback situation, a guy who before he went down last year was probably going to win the MVP, and then your backup is the guy who won the Super Bowl MVP. Think about that.
Yeah.
Mind-boggling.
It's not bad. It's what you want.
It's what you want. It's a really great situation. And then look at the rest of their team. They're good everywhere on defense, special teams, kicker, punter, you name it. They're good. They've got no. I mean, there's like almost no holes. I think losing Trey Burton sucks, but they got Zach Ertz, who's like the best tight end in football, or at least he's in the conversation.
Yeah.
So that just goes to show you how good of a team they are. They could lose a guy like Trey Burton, who could be like a really great player for Chicago, and yet your tight end situation is really not that hurt. I mean, the Eagles are just to me. And then here's the biggest thing, maybe. You've got one of the best coaches in the league. And then on top of that, you have a team that has the experience of running this gauntlet and winning a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. And not just winning a Super Bowl, but beating the devil himself. So they've not only won, but they went into the Lions' den and they beat the evil Patriots.
How fun is it going to be to watch the Rams play the Eagles?
Oh, I'll tell you what. I mean, I would love that as an NFC Championship game.
That's going to be so much fun.
By the way, so I have the Vikings at 13-3, the Rams at 13-3, the Saints at 12-4, and the Eagles at 12-4. The Patriots were the best team I had in the AFC at 12-4, and then 11-5, 11-5, and 10-6. The NFC is superior to the AFC. Like I actually think the Packers and the Falcons at 11-5 are better than some of the other division winners in the AFC. Maybe only the Patriots are the only team where I would say significantly, not even significantly, but they're better than some of the wild card teams in the NFC. But otherwise, it's a joke. Like the NFC is just head and shoulders better. I have the Giants second place, not 10-6, but I have them at 9-7. My biggest concern about the Giants is how are they going to get to the quarterback? They have Olivier Vernon, and I'm an Olivier Vernon fan. I mean, listen, he was a Dolphin. He was a good player with them. But they lost JPP to the Bucs. I'm not sure where the pass rush is coming from. And that concerns me a little bit. And I would imagine that our friend Tim Callahan might be a little bit concerned about that too. It'd be interesting to see if he weighs in on this while we're talking about it, if he's watching. But that concerns me a little bit.
Calling Laszlo.
Yeah, but that concerns me a little bit with the Giants is that I got them at 9-7, and listen, I think it's going to be a step up. Here's the other problem though. The window is really closing for that team because as much as I think Eli will have a bounce back season, he doesn't have that many left in him. So at some point they've got to be looking towards the future too. I've got the Cowboys at 8-8. Sorry to whoever your friend was there. I just don't see it. They lost Des Bryant. They lost Jason Witten. They got Alan Hearns, who I actually like, but I mean, and yes, you're going to have a full year of Ezekiel Elliott, but I just, I don't know. There's nothing on the defense that really inspires me there.
They have a good pass rush. They definitely have a good pass rush, but their secondary is horrible. It's
bad. Really,
when's
bad.
the last time they had a good secondary? I can't even remember.
I don't know. And they're not. Yeah, and their pass rush. So if that's their pass rush better be good to help the secondary out because if any quarterback gets time on them,
that's where they're going to get their turnovers.
They're going to get picked apart. And then look, I've got the Redskins, pulling in the rear here at 5-11. I might have liked them a little bit more if Darius Geis hadn't been out for the season. But even if he had been there, I might have given them one more win. They're a 5-11 team. I do like Alex Smith, but I need to see Alex Smith do it away from Andy Reid. And until he's, I just don't see it. And the Redskins are the
year with the Niners.
And the Redskins, let's face it, the Redskins are like a perpetual disaster. Daniel Snyder is the most meddling, awful owner. It's just not there. It's not there. Geis being out, it's like bad karma right off the bat. I am excited for Chris Thompson to see him getting out because with Geis being out, Chris Thompson, I believe, who I think was a deserving starter last year, and also I have him in fantasy, in one of my fantasy teams as a keeper, so in the Dynasty League, so I actually want to see him succeed. But I liked him a lot watching him last year, but yeah, that's where I've got it though. So Eagles, Giants, Cowboys, Redskins.
All right. So that was perfect. You ended right at the end of that
I told you I'd be
that
better
theme
this week.
from Monday Night Football.
I told you I'd be better.
Keith Sherry posted Terrence Newman, LOL. That's the last time we had a good secondary.
Jeez. Wow.
Yeah. So those were our picks for the NFC East. We did the NFC and we did the AFC last week. So go ahead. You can take a listen to that. Go to www.sportsandsorts.libsyn.com, and you can look at that, or you can go to YouTube where we have our videos.
You are listening to the Sports and Sorts podcast.